On this episode, we check into all-star movies, eat some festival favorites, hang out at Banana Cabana, we break down Luminous, Symphony of Us, and have one of the worst dining experiences when it comes to food at Mama Melrose in Hollywood Studios. Today's July 2nd, 2024. This is episode 681 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts. Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Rhonda.
Hey guys! Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic, and on TikTok at MSM Podcast.
If you want to be part of the community and join the conversation, in addition to live streams from the parks and our weekly live show, head to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.
Planning a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World can be overwhelming and at times just downright frustrating. But don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service.
So on today's episode, we are talking about our weekend and Tiana's Bayou Adventure opening. That will include Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but we are going to break this into two episodes. So happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yeah, 4th will be in 2 days from when this comes out, right?
And then the second one will come out a
right
day
after the 4th.
Right. So happy 4th of July. We are actually going to go to Disney. We are going to take Lacey this time and let her pick a friend, and we're going to do Typhoon Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, Lord have mercy. We have tried to go to.
We'll see.
We'll talk about that coming up.
Daytime should be fine. We're in that Florida afternoon, evening storm.
Yep.
Period.
We sure are.
And we'll touch base on H2O Glow. You won't notice it in any of the headlines or the descriptions, I should say, or titles for this episode and the next episode. But yeah, we're just gonna start going through our weekend and all. You know, we went down for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That was the catalyst for us going down this weekend, which opened officially on June 28th. We went down June 27th because we really wanted to be there.
Yes.
And wake up the morning of opening. Not only for, just getting over to the park and checking out merch, and we'll go through all that, but, Genie Plus and Lightning Lane and Virtual Queue, just doing it from there. So that was the reason we went down early. And then we actually were just going for one night. We added on a second night prior, just because.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Well, originally, it's one of those things like you don't know how the opening day will go because there's no guarantees anymore. There's no guarantee that you can ride when we go way back to some of the things prior to virtual queues where you just showed up early and you waited.
Yep.
Like back to the opening of Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land, which happy 6-year anniversary.
That's right.
As of today's recording on June 30th.
Wow.
Those Facebook memories were popping up.
Yes, they were.
Had the soft open the night before that we ran over to.
Yes.
And I think we were actually staying at Movies when that opened. So
yeah, I believe so.
Here we are 6 years later, staying at All-Star Movies for this one as well. So we'll just start talking, and at some point we'll just break it up, and then we'll finish off for Friday's episode. So let's start with heading down, though. With the way that our plans are going to look, often a lot of times we'll drive down and we'll go straight to whatever park we're starting at.
Yes.
But we were going to actually end up at EPCOT, Hollywood Studios, later at Banana Cabana. So it was like we didn't want our car stuck anywhere at a park. So we drove straight down and got all checked into All-Star, right?
We sure did. And on Thursday when we went down, it was kind of funny, too, because we did not pack on Sunday. And I need to do that because working those 3 straight days and then trying to get up and go Thursday first thing morning. But it is nice that I am off and that we can and are able to do that. So yeah, we went straight to All Stars movies.
Yes.
Movies. And checked in and our room was ready. So that was fantastic because we were able to just go check in, get stuff put in and then bus on over. But All Star Movies actually is the Animal Kingdom Resort area. A few bullet points is it did open January 15th, 1999.
Yes, this actually opened 5 years after music and sports. Those opened in 94.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and then this opened, and it didn't all open at once. If I remember correctly, I think it started with possibly it was like Mighty Ducks, Dalmatians, moved over, and very soon after opened up Herbie and Fantasia, and last opening section was Toy Story.
Yes.
Which is normally our favorite section, but it's
We
a
actually-
preferred section, and we just don't bother usually paying for preferred.
Correct.
We don't see the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're at, like, for example, really any of the value resorts, as far as it goes with the 3 All-Stars, Pop Century, and then, of course, of Ardent Animation, if you're getting preferred, you're staying in a suite, basically.
Yes.
So you don't really get a choice there. But for, I don't know, an extra $20 a night, it might be worth it to you. We don't find that need. Like, we're okay walking a little bit extra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we're on the other side of this property and we've got to walk up to the bus stop, it's not a big deal for us. We'd rather save the money.
Yeah.
Now, if you're only going for 1 or 2 nights, I can see maybe paying extra. But if you're there for a week, you know, at $20 to $30 extra a night for preferred, that'll really add up.
Yes,
I don't really know that it's worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. Especially like, okay, so we didn't pay for preferred.
Mm-hmm.
We got standard. And we were, like I said, at movies in Fantasia, which was great. And where we were was a great, great location. We were under the hat, which I love that. I walked in through the hat every time. And where we were located, it was super great because we could get on a bus either to music or to movies.
Yeah.
Because our music, if we got onto a music bus, which we did a couple of times actually,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that, we were close enough and we again didn't mind walking that so I think it just depends.
Yeah,
I would probably save the money though, but yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at and I can't remember exactly how the buildings are set. So we were like the Fantasia Building 5, I believe, is a preferred building, right? But we were on the way opposite side of it, which I don't necessarily think is a preferred room.
Okay.
It might have been. I mean, we might have gotten a little bump, but like Rhonda's saying, once you get there, notice what building you're in, because between these 3 resorts are so close that, yeah, you could be at movies over in the Mighty Ducks section, especially.
Oh, yeah.
And you're actually closer walking to the music lobby and bus stops than you are the movies one.
Yes.
Or, you know, you could be over at music and you might actually be a little bit closer to sports.
Right.
You know, so just something to kind of note when you're
100%.
in those areas for that type of stuff. So there's 1,920 rooms. It's a very large resort.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
this is the same amongst all 3. Now over at music, they do have suites, the family suites.
Yes,
So
that's
if
right.
that's what you want to look at, you need to look specifically at music. And when you look at that pricing again, like right now, if I go ahead to the first weekend in August, just rack room rate, a standard room is as low as $216 for that weekend. A preferred is $238.
Yeah.
So $22 difference. Those are much lower if you get an AP rate, if you get a Florida resident rate, some of the
100%.
packages, things like that. And then just note that the world premiere food court is going under a refurbishment July 1st to July 31st. So starting tomorrow, you know, from the time of this recording.
Right.
So what that is going to mean is that it will be mobile order only. What they basically do is they set up tables, like 6-foot tables, foldable tables, out along the perimeter of it normally while they're doing the work in the back, and you will mobile order. All the tables will be assigned different sections, and it'll say, you know, return to 3. You'll go up there. They'll bring you your food to go.
Almost like COVID times.
Yeah, it's exactly the way that they did it during COVID times when they reopened.
Okay.
It's the exact same type of setup that they've been doing.
Well, that's good to know because I'm like, oh my gosh, where are people going to get their food?
Yeah, I know. And again, this is one where it would be wrong of Disney to do because it would be so slammed. But you could, if you really wanted the same experience and not mobile ordering, then just walk over to music.
Yeah.
Again, it's right next door. Just walk over there and utilize their food court.
Especially if you're staying in the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I was thinking about the world premiere food court, and I went down in there several times. So I went down each morning for coffee.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you enjoy your coffee in the morning and you want to get it with ease and save a little bit of money, opposed to going into the parks and standing at a Joffrey's or a Starbucks. Now, these do not have the amount of selection. These are machine-based. It's the same ones that you would see in the club level, but they have different flavors, and you can get lattes, cappuccinos, Americanas, or just straight-up coffee, and decaf and regular caffeinated. And they got a bunch of, like I went down each morning and would get like a vanilla latte or a caramel latte. And both of ours, I mean, under $10 for two 16-ounce iced drinks using Joffrey's coffee is a pretty dang good deal. And it's a lot cheaper than if you go into the park. So a little way to save money. But the mornings that I was in there, I remember being in that food court in the lobby, and I was just looking around the world premiere food court, and I was like, man, this is just, it's so classic. And it has this just wonderful nostalgic feel to it. And I hope that they don't change that with the refurb. I hope this is a light refurb, some like I hope they don't replace kind of this, man, it's like late 80s, 90s. Like it feels like you have just bought your tickets when you used to have to go, I was telling Kaylin this, right? Because we've been watching Stranger Things. And so I'm like, I'll keep referring and pausing and being like, did you know back in the 80s, we had to do this? But, you remember you used to have to call a phone number of the movie theater, and there was a recording, and it told you when the movie was playing.
I do remember that.
So if you were going to see Zorro, you're waiting until the very end because it's going to go in alphabetical order. You have to hear every movie. Then they would list the number of theaters it was playing in. They would tell you the times that it was playing. And that was if you didn't have the luxury of getting the daily newspaper, right? Because it would be printed in the newspaper as well. But then you had to drive to the movie theater, right? And you had to buy your tickets.
Yeah.
And then you had to get there early.
Yes.
Yes. You wanted to catch movie trailers.
Yes.
Which you had not seen before going to the movie.
Correct.
Because there was no YouTube and social media, right?
Yep.
So you would go in and you would buy your ticket, and then you would get there early because you wanted a seat.
Yeah.
They weren't assigned. You didn't know ahead of time. You couldn't show up whenever you wanted and say, oh, I'm, H3, whatever.
Right.
No, you had to go in and hope that you found your family of 4 seats together. But all of that being said, when you walked into that lobby after purchasing your ticket, it had this feel, and it's bright lights, and it's 1980s, 90s decor, and there's like I don't even know how to explain it, but that's the feel that this has, and it's just such a nostalgic feel. So I hope that they don't modernize this in some crazy way. Like,
we'll see.
And I think all the All-Stars, even with the in-room refurbs, which happened back in 2019, they completed them at movies. The rest of the property still just has this classic Disney feel.
Yes, I do love it. Yep.
We love the rooms, especially when it's just the two of us.
Especially now that they refurbed them.
Yeah.
Like the beds are great, always comfortable. And then with the Murphy bed, which is fantastic, it's just us, so we don't have to pull it down. We can keep it as a nice table.
Yeah.
And then when we do have other people, you pull down, and it's a great sleep. It's not the bar in your back. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I really do enjoy these rooms. They're a great layout. Yep. And we're talking those prices at rack rate. We paid here we are, midsummer, well under 200. I mean, I think overall, or right around, I think by the time room taxes and all that stuff, I think we were for both nights somewhere around 373. Your Friday night's going to be a little bit more expensive than your Thursday.
Right.
But yeah, around 373 for 2 nights, AP rate. It was perfect for us. So we do love it. The transportation works well. You only got 1 bus stop. And so I do think, if you were at an All-Star and you were thinking maybe I want to stay preferred, I would look at the price of a standard at Pop Century and make that move instead. If it was 20, if you were at All-Star and it was $20 more to go from standard to preferred a night, or it was like $30 more to go from a standard room at All Star to a standard room at Pop, I would just go to Pop and have access to the Skyliner.
Yep, because you're getting the same beds.
Yeah. And the thing is there, because of where the Skyliner is located, depending on where you are, if you're in a standard room, you either could be pretty close to the Skyliner or you're about even distance to the lobby or the Skyliner, if you're on one of those outlying buildings. So that was just a little bit of All-Star because we haven't talked about that in a while.
Yeah.
But we did want to cover some of that. So we were going to head over to EPCOT really solely just to ride. We had lunch plans at Hollywood Studios. And we really went to EPCOT just to do Cosmic Rewind because the last time we went, we didn't make it to our queue.
Right. And then we also, when we saw the Encanto, we did not get the festival favorite.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do these two things.
Yeah.
Correct?
And that was literally why we had a park reservation, got Cosmic Rewind virtual queue that morning, went over, rode that. So I was thinking, and I've kept track of all of our rides on Cosmic Rewind.
Yes, you have.
Right. And this opened in Memorial Weekend of 2022. So it's been open for over 2 years now. We have in some capacity ridden 41 times.
That's crazy.
Now, 1 or 2 of those I was by myself, and I think one of them for some reason you rode by yourself. But overall, 41 rides. Out of all the songs, we've had September 4 times, Disco Inferno 4 times, Conga 9 times. That leads.
That's shocking because
I don't feel like we've had it much at all.
I don't either.
Right. Everybody Wants to Rule the World 7 times. That feels like we've had it 7 times because that's probably my least favorite one. I think it might be yours too.
Yeah.
I Ran 8 times, which we don't love.
No.
Then One Way or Another, which is our absolute favorite, 5 times. And then the Run Rocket Run, they did that overlay the first holiday season in 2022. And we've actually done that 4 times. So
that wasn't bad. I really like that one.
Is it time to update the songs?
Yes.
I agree.
I mean, because we were leaving and I don't remember the name of the song, but I'm like, this would have been better. And I think we had, I Ran the last time?
Yeah, we've had I Ran the last 2 times.
And I don't like that song. And we were sitting up front. We waited for front row. Which was great. But I'm like, when I don't get a good song, I'm pretty much like, all right, this is boring to me now. Like I'm trying to then focus on not being sick.
Yeah.
So it just stinks.
I'll take any song, but
I know.
I do agree some make it better than others. And
it really does.
There's so many times. I mean, I'd have to look up the soundtrack for when you're exiting. But there's a lot of stuff. And I know Disney says, we did all these songs. We tried out on rides. We did whatever, whether they did simulations or they actually, assigned a song and then wrote it and picked it. I know that there's more than these 6 songs that fit on this ride.
100%.
I mean,
Change it
some
up.
of these,
2 years.
some of these, when you exit, you're like, dang, this seems like it would be good.
Yep.
And I don't think we're at a point where there's certain notes that just hit on the ride, that like you could easily put a bunch of other songs on here. I'd love to see them just rotate or even whether you increase what's there now and you go from these 6 songs and make it 8 or 10 or 12 or
Absolutely.
you completely wipe them out and start over. I'd be down for either one. But
Yep.
We did go ahead to get a little snack since we had a little bit of a later lunch from the festival favorites. So you can stop by this casual eatery to explore an ever-changing menu filled with popular dishes from various EPCOT festivals. So the way that they're starting this off is by providing dishes that have never been at an EPCOT festival, which was kind of funny. But I think this is their like, hey, there is no festival. Let's put something fresh in here.
Okay.
So here's my question though.
I thought they were going along with Encanto.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are 100%. But when you're saying EPCOT festivals, you think they're picking the top rated or best dishes that we've seen previously in the festivals.
Yes.
Now it makes sense that during this time there is no festival. They're lining this up with Encanto, right? Which is genius. And we'll talk about the items. But what does that mean they're going to do during Food and Wine Festival, for example?
Maybe they'll have something here. Or maybe they'll have some past. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get to. So for the festival favorites, during Food and Wine Festival, are they going to have favorites that are currently at the festival? Or are they going to do favorites from the past that they no longer feature? Or are they going to give you a taste of other festivals? So, for example, do you go All right, it's Food and Wine Festival time. We're gonna put. We know that this is the most highly rated item, so we're gonna put the beer cheese soup and the filet mignon from Canada here. So it's an additional opportunity to get it. Or,
And then what would be at Canada?
the same thing. But what I'm saying is they know that gets just say the busiest and it's the highest rated for.
Oh, okay.
Or are they going to say, we're going to take what was, in case you missed it, here was the favorite items from Flower and Garden, which was last. Let's have 3 or 4 food items from a bunch of different festivals, a couple drinks. Or do they say,
my goodness.
we're going to highlight International Festival of the Holidays, which is next. So let's have a couple items from there to kind of cross-market and promote Festival of the Holidays and get people to come back. Or
Oh my goodness.
do they replace the Encanto show with a different show, and Festival Favorites doesn't truly feature favorites from the festival, but it interacts with the festival at that time, basically just making another booth? Time will tell.
Yes, it will.
It's not what they're doing now. This is open 9:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. One of the offerings that they have that we did not try was the cheese stuffed arepa with cilantro, lime, crema, and cojita. What do they have that we tried?
They have a cheese stuffed arepa with chicken and avocado for $6.50. They also, we did not get, but they have a coconut tres leches, which is a vanilla cake soaked in oat, almond, and coconut milks. That's where the tres comes in, the 3, topped with toasted coconut for $5.
Probably delicious.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. How was that arepa? How was the cheese stuffed arepa with chicken and avocado?
This was one of the best things I've had in a very long time. Like, I
Agreed.
literally woke up this morning thinking about it, and I literally asked Jeremy if we could do and make it at home, because so this was basically to me like what Jeremy would do when he'd be like, all right, we're gonna make some enchiladas or something. He puts some chicken in a crock pot and then he shreds it. This was then an avocado like mash all combined.
Yeah,
I'd
an
say
avocado
avocado
cream
cream, chicken, and then the cheese. And it was like a sandwich. I wouldn't say stuffed. It was like 2 arepas and then cheese and then a scoop of chicken avocado mix. I mean, seriously, everything was fantastic.
Yeah.
I want
with you.
another one. Holy moly.
If they're going to count this as a festival booth, like moving forward, this is one of the best festival items.
Holy.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Like ever.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because we saw John and he has had just the cheese one and he said it was just as good.
Yeah.
So if you don't want the chicken and the avocado stuff,
It was
holy
so dang
moly.
good. And
so
I'm
good.
used to like arepas, like stuffed arepas with the masa, and then you stuff them and form it into a ball, and then you rolling pin it out. You know, and they're like a 1/2 inch thick, but they're actually stuffed within like the masa and all. And so this really was. It was like they had made 2 masa discs to act as like the bun or the bread, and then all this filling inside. It was so good. I mean, if we were not going to lunch, if we didn't have lunch plans, we would have gone back and gotten another one immediately and split that one.
Probably.
Or even after the first bite would have been like, you know what, we're going to each one our own, and gone back and gotten one, or gone back and gotten just the cheese one.
I just started to say,
Or
since we
multiple.
split it,
Yeah.
I would have probably liked to have tried the cheese. But I mean, seriously, this
I will. Next time we're in EPCOT,
I will get one.
we'll get one.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yep.
Hands down. That's how good it was.
Yep.
They do in there have some beverages with alcohol, like a passion fruit daiquiri for $14.50. They have the Goldschmidt Imperial Guard Cabernet Sauvignon from Sonoma, California for $15, which is very interesting because the Imperial Guard Cabernet Sauvignon is also available in Oga's Cantina, where originally those were all going to be specific to Oga's Cantina, but this looks like it's the same drink with a slight modification on name. So I do wonder if it's the same one. So any wine connoisseurs, if you want to go try both, and let us know. They have some seasonal beers. They've got a Chardonnay and then a Cider Boys Melon Mojito Hard Cider, which sounds delicious. We did get the non-alcoholic coconut passion fruit smoothie for $5.
I thought it was really good.
It is. It's very good. It's
really-
refreshing. It's light. It's a little bit coconutty. It has this very citrusy flavor to it. And it's a nice refreshing drink to walk around when it's 1,000 degrees outside.
It was 1,000 degrees.
It's freaking absurd out right now. So we were doing Mama Melrose for our lunch, our little bit of a later lunch. And this was another reason I switched to EPCOT, because we've not seen our friend Marcy, who works over at Bar Riva, in quite some time, because she no longer works weekends. And so I made sure she was working Thursday, and I thought, well, if we're at EPCOT and we're going to head to Hollywood, then we'll just stop by there anyway. Right. So we stopped by Bar Riva, and sat down there mostly just to see Marcy.
Yeah.
They do have new menu items. And if you go back to 578, just a couple ago, we tried the chicken tenders and we did the burger. We both loved them.
Yep.
Love both items. They do have a grilled chicken pasta that we want to try, in a charcuterie board, but we weren't eating. We were just having a little something. You got you got the Aperol Spritz, correct?
No, I actually told her I wanted to do something with limoncello, because we were going to Mama Melrose.
That's
and I
right.
kind of thought.
You got the Aperol Spritz last time we went.
Correct.
Yeah, because of Lucy.
Yes.
Okay, that's right.
Then this time I told her, and so she basically made me a margarita with limoncello, and it was fantastic. I think it was $15. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Really refreshing. Just sat and sipped on that. You had the Mediterranean mint lemonade, correct?
Yeah, this is just their Minute Maid premium lemonade with honey and mint for $5.99. It's delightful. It is so good. It reminds me of the one over at Morocco that you can get in Spice Road Table at the walk-up bar area. And it's just like, I buy the sugar-free Minute Maid premium lemonade, and we have some right now. So we have honey, and we even have that little bit of spicy honey. So I just want to grab some mint. It's really good, and it's really, really refreshing.
Nice.
And I'm sure if you wanted, they could add some sort of spirit to it.
Yes.
And charge you for it. But I love it. So we sat there, just had this. We caught up with Marcy, and then we skylined on over to Hollywood Studios, go to Mama Melrose Ristorante Italiano.
Yes.
We'd not been here in quite some time.
Yes.
They've made lots of changes to the menu. I have heard personally wonderful things about their steak. Why don't you go through a few bullet points real quick, and then
because
we'll do
it
our
is
best to discuss.
Yes, it is located in the Grand Avenue at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and where that is, a lot of people even were like, "Where is that?" So when you're going over to Galaxy's Edge, when you're headed that way, there is a left that you can turn, which then has Pizza Rizzo's in there. It has the Muppets, and then there's like this, like, it looks like Christmas. And if you go around down the stairs and go around to your right, it's kind of hidden. If you go and watch the Muppet 3D, when you exit, it's pretty much right there, and you can see it.
Yeah, this used to be, this was, you had to pass this in the past, because this took you back to the whole area. This was one of the walkways through that went all the way back to Lights Motor Action,
right?
Streets of America were all part of this entire section, and then this was like Streets of America, which is now Grand Avenue. This was kind of like your Little Italy, basically a New York style Little Italy with Pizza Rizzo and Mama Melrose. So it's been there. Yeah, it's been there forever.
Yes, and now it's kind of like, quote unquote, hidden, because
it is very, very hidden.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to explain where it is, because a lot of people was like, wait, where is that? Of course, this is American Italian. This is casual dining. Dining plans and discounts. You get 1 credit for lunch and dinner on your dining plan, and then of course you get your AP discount, which is 10%, or Visa, which is Disney Visa, which is the same as 10%. Your lunch runs from 10:45 a.m. to 3:55 p.m. and dinner runs from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
They should probably hide this better. I think this restaurant is not hidden enough. So I had originally booked a Fantasmic dining package just because I was like, well, we haven't seen Fantasmic in a little bit. Let's do that. And then those plans changed because we were going to do a little mini meetup over at Banana Cabana later that evening and hang out with a few folks. So I was like, all right, I'll just drop the Fantasmic portion. I'll just book regular lunch. And we'll go eat here because it hasn't been a while. We're trying to get back to things. We're trying to, kind of get back to the basics on some of these. So that was the whole reason that we decided to dine here.
Mhm.
Also, I know that they've made a lot of menu changes. You know, one of the things I was excited, I'd always complained in the past, was that they didn't have pizza. You know, they had some flatbreads that were only available as appetizers, but they didn't have like meals of pizza, like a lunch pizza or whatever. Like get yourself a whole pizza for your table. So they had added those. I mean, the menu looks really good. It looks really promising. And I know they'd made all these changes. So let's start with decor and all, though. I mean, it's a cute place.
It's super cute. It
Very
actually reminds me of like it could be a Ratatouille themed restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this could be an easily converted.
But I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be good here because it's EPCOT has Ratatouille ride.
Yeah. I still think it could be a Muppets restaurant, and I mean,
sure.
I think this should be. I will just say it now because I'll forget to say it. I wish that they would turn this into more Pizza Rizzo, and this would be. I mean, you could. Well, I wouldn't keep everything as is. That's for sure. But technically, you could do a very light re-theme and turn this into Pizza Rizzo's Italian cuisine that serves pizzas, but also some pastas and salads and stuff like that. And then turn Pizza Rizzo's, because this isn't really a Little Italy. The shops are closed. You know what I mean? I mean, you got Muppets 3D right there, but turn Pizza Rizzo into a quick service Muppet-themed restaurant that isn't so niche into just rat pizza. You know what I mean? But instead turn this into a quick service, and it has different areas. Like you have that upstairs ballroom, and you have the down, like you could turn this into different Muppet areas and have, honestly, I almost think of turning this into a Muppets version of Minions Cafe over at Universal Studios. You know, where you could do a lot of play on the decor.
Okay,
It's very whimsical. It's fun. It's lighthearted. You have some inventive style dishes, you know, that go around the Muppets and all. Not stuff like frog legs, but, you know, things that could be themed kind of almost around. There you go. Frog legs, pulled pork sandwiches.
Oh, my goodness.
What else would you have? I'm trying to think of what else you could have. That'd be really... Shrimp would be on there somewhere. But I think that would be better use. And just go ahead and turn this legit into Muppets courtyard.
Yeah.
But they're not going to. They don't lay into the Muppets enough. So
no.
Angela was wonderful as our cast member, as our server.
Yes.
She was awesome.
She was.
And if you want,
she was really cool.
Yeah, if you want to have wonderful service with a smile, you could go here.
Yes.
If you want to have edible cuisine, I would not.
It wasn't not edible, except, well...
Like, I don't even know where to.
I don't
know where to start. Do you want to say
some
of the stuff you can get? And then we'll talk. I mean, that's what we
which
normally
maybe
do,
we
right?
should have gotten a burrata salad. But anyways, you could tomato bruschetta, fried mozzarella sticks, marinated olives, mushroom artichoke cheese dip, house garlic bread. Maybe we should have gotten that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got fried calamari for $16. So it is pickled shallots, marinara sauce, lemon aioli, and pepperoncinis. So pepperoncinis and the calamari was fried.
Which were all rings.
They were all rings. So I think what they do is they fry a bunch, and unfortunately they put it in a pan like French fries. And then they, scoop it and put it on a plate and stuff. I think we got the very last bottom of the barrel. Like they should have taken it out and then and thrown that away, and then put the new big old thing up, and then we could have gotten that, because there was too much breading. The taste of the fry from the calamari was great, like the herbs, the breading portion. It was very crispy. The best, unfortunately, was the pepperoncinis that were fried.
Yeah, the pepperoncinis were pretty good.
Because they were still like soft enough and everything. The calamari was way overcooked.
Yeah.
They were so cooked that like they shrunk way down.
Yeah. I mean, these rings, if you're talking like ring size, this was like baby's pinky. They were so small. They were
little,
chewy and overcooked.
Yep.
They were so overcooked that when you picked one up, the breading just fell off of it.
Yes, it
did. You were stuck with it. Like, okay.
We should have
Angela
said something.
Angela was absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of my favorite cast members ever.
She was.
Like, I honestly would almost go back to say, can we sit in Angela's section and we're just going to have like a beverage of some sort and maybe we'll try another appetizer. But everything else about this, and we'll get into this was awful.
Yeah. And then
All
the
of it
pickled
was
shallots where I didn't understand it. It was not pretty. And then it didn't taste good either.
No, so you had this pitiful plate of calamari, and they really were. I mean, these rings were so tiny and overcooked. Like, awful. It's the worst calamari I've ever had, and it's the worst appetizer I've had on Disney property. Easily. And then you had
were good.
the marinara wasn't bad. It was a pretty good marinara.
Yeah, lemon aioli was fine.
Bad. And they had like a lemon aioli. And then next to that on the plate was a mound of pickled shallots, pickled red onions. And then on top of that was just raw sliced like baby bell pepper strips. Like, none of them had to do with anything. They were just there.
And like I said, I tasted them and they were gross.
Yeah. They serve no purpose to the entire
It wasn't
dish.
like you could eat it together and they were actually kind of, it was super.
They should have just breaded all that and fried it with everything else because the pepperoncinis were okay. And so somebody else came back to take the dish away because I think we probably would have said something if she came back and it was still sitting in front of us. I think we would have.
I'd have been like, this is.
We would have
like
probably
we
said
got
it in
the
a
bottom
joking
of,
manner. Like if she would have been like, "How's the calamari?" We probably would have been like, "I kind of think we got the bottom of the barrel," and she would have been able to see what was left on the plate, like that it was not very good. But but somebody else had come and taken it away, and we had already placed our order for the meals, and she brought those to us. So they do have some classics on here, like fettuccine alfredo with shrimp, mushroom and goat cheese pizza. They've got Mama's Italian pasta with chicken, braised pork ossobuco, Parmesan Parmesan chicken, chicken Parmigiana, fresh fish, spaghetti and meatballs, margarita pizza, stuff like that, right? So you asked first about the polenta cake with the mushroom and herbed cauliflower for $24.
Yes. It looks good. Polenta layered, sauteed mushrooms, spinach, red pepper, and a cashew cheese because this is plant-based. And I was like, I like polenta.
Which is so funny because that evening we ended up having a cashew cheese conversation.
Yeah, we did.
With April and John and all. And but you asked Angela, you're like, how is this? And we could see in her face, she was kind of like, and you said something about, you said, well, I like grits. Like I like creamy and delicious grits.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, you like grits because they're both creamy and delicious.
And then she basically
that's
was
not
like,
what this is.
Polenta cake is just dry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then I was like, what about the bolognese and rigatoni bolognese? And she was like, excellent choice.
Yeah, excellent choice.
And I was like, oh, okay. And this is ground beef, Italian sausage, and Parmesan for $26. And I was like, okay, I will take that.
Yep.
That is what I got.
I ordered because I love the prosciutto and melon pizza that's over at Via Napoli. I got the prosciutto and honey pizza for $22, which is Parmesan, ham, red chili flakes. And she said, excellent choice.
Yep.
Whose do you want to start with?
I mean, it doesn't matter. We'll start with mine because mine, I do feel like, it was unfortunately just noodles that was in a box, and they boiled them. Sauce that was in a can, and then they tried to over wine it because it tasted like wine a little bit. And then just a beef and Italian. I really couldn't taste the Italian sausage because usually that gives a little bit of
I don't think that was Italian sausage.
I don't either.
I think it was unseasoned ground beef.
Yeah.
To be honest.
And then Parmesan shaving. So it wasn't. It was your typical what you could get out of probably.
Well, this
the
is
Dollar General.
I mean, you've heard us talk Italian food.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things I'll say a lot of time, like most Italian food to me is at least good in the sense that pasta good, sauce good, meat good, whatever, like cheese good, like it's good. I have no problem if we finished recording. I mean, again, I made this a couple weeks ago with your parents.
Yours was better.
We had frozen ground beef that was
Yeah.
in the freezer. We were trying to use it. So I cooked it all down. I got jarred sauce, right?
Mhm.
I added that to it. I bought boxed noodles.
No, they were bagged.
Well, bagged noodles from Costco. They're a little bit of fancier noodles,
Mm-hmm.
but bought those, cooked it, served it together. It's very good.
Yours was better than this.
Yeah, but even what I made, I wouldn't expect to go in and spend $26 for a plate of what I made and be happy with it. I'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, so if this was quick service, you know, if this is what Pizza Rizzo was serving, and you got this for $13.50, $14.50, it'd be a bit different. But and this wasn't even like, it wasn't even good boxed and jarred. Like, this was, to me,
that's why I said Dollar General.
Yeah, you go up to Dollar General and you get the Dollar General brand, whatever that is, you know, or
it just
was, or Kroger brand or something. Like, it was. And again,
it wasn't bad.
inedible.
It wasn't unedible.
You shouldn't be paying
just
$26 for this.
Correct.
Sitting in a place that has this beautiful decor and Italian feel and flair, and like, this shouldn't be what's being served for $26. And it makes it almost inedible because you're just mad that you're spending this amount of money on something that can't cost more than $2.50 coming out of your. I mean, I don't even know that they cooked the beef and mixed it with the sauce. Do they make jarred salsa with meat in it?
Did you say salsa?
Sauce.
Huh.
Did they make jarred marinara sauce with meat already in it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Probably. And I think that's what this was.
All
it's
right.
one note.
We
There's
don't have to beat a
nothing
dead
fresh
horse
to it. I'm beating this dead
No,
horse just
poor
because
horse.
we're you know.
Well, and it was
us.
funny because Chuck Marchetti posted it under and said, "How about the bolognese?" And I just said, and I can't remember what I said, but I really I thought we were seeing him in person. That's why the next day I was gonna be like, honestly, Chuck, you're Italian. Like, Allie makes a heck of a better than. I mean, you've had better. Like it's just no. This is no. So
yeah, now,
it's sad. It's sad because, like you said, you want to expect it. You want to, and then the sad part is like everybody was responding and saying like, well, they heard that they had really good food here,
and I'm not
which
discrediting
I'm glad
any of that
y'all did, but it just wasn't good for us, which is sad.
Well, and you go back, you know, we saw John that night, and he was talking about didn't have the best experience recently at Trattoria Al Forno, which we've had a couple times and have always had a wonderful experience. So
correct.
All of these are still take with a grain of salt. We're giving you our experience on June 27th at a 1:10 p.m. dining reservation.
Well, I will say yes, and I will say that Rachel had a next day, and we told her she's a foodie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, no, don't do it, because I just was not gonna be happy. Like, I'm like, she's not gonna be happy.
Right.
So,
and this still all comes down to comparisons, and that's what we always want to be fair about. Is if somebody says, "Is Mama Melrose any good?" I'm not gonna say no,
right,
and be done with the conversation. I'm gonna say, we had a bad experience there with the food. Here it was, whatever. Because I know we've mentioned before, and never trying to throw my parents under the bus, they're just plain eaters. They would have split this rigatoni bolognese, which they would have had to ask exactly what it is, because I think rigatoni and bolognese would have thrown them off.
Yes.
You know, but they would have split this meal and loved it.
Yes, they would have.
It would have been perfect for them.
Yes.
You know?
Maybe it still might have been a little too whiny.
Maybe a little bit,
because
heavy on the red wine flavor and all.
Yes,
but
it was.
They would have enjoyed this.
Yes.
And so again, you have to think about that. A lot of kids, if at home you're going, this sounds great. I got a 15-year-old boy who eats me out of house and home, and I'm used to serving him, you know, because he's kind of plain or picky. I'm used to serving him jarred sauce and boxed pasta and from Dollar General, and he loves it because I have to feed him so much because he eats so much. You know, I buy maybe a cheaper, whatever. So again, somebody else might love it.
Right.
Prosciutto and honey pizza. I think this had some really good parts to it.
Mm-hmm.
This was, in theory, really good. The crust did taste like it may have been homemade. It did taste as though it was wood fired.
Good.
The prosciutto / ham that they were using, which was much more of a ham, not a prosciutto, but it was much more of a thin sliced ham. There was plenty of it, and it was salty. It had a great flavor to it. The honey was good. It had a little bit of kick with red chili flakes in there. There wasn't really a sauce. It wasn't even like it was a white sauce, like a white pizza. I think it was just, so anywhere that there wasn't toppings, it was extremely dried out. Very, very dry crust. Some of the ham prosciutto was laid perfectly in a nice thin layer, and it was good. Others of it were just balled up. It was like they scrunched it up in their hand and threw it on there. So it just, and those pieces got super overcooked. There wasn't enough honey, like, to balance everything. It wasn't bad.
You actually ate
I ate half
your
of
entire
it, and I ate
thing.
the rest that night.
You did.
I was hungry.
I did not.
Because the flavors there did work together. So when you got the right bite, it was very good.
Good.
The problem is there were a lot of wrong bites.
Uh-huh.
I would be very interested to just go there and potentially get a margarita pizza, because I think it has all the possibilities. And if they put the sauce on it right and enough sauce, I don't think you're going to get those dry patches. But it could definitely use a little help. So it wasn't like the worst thing ever. But when Angela came back, because, here's the other thing. We don't know if this was bad for Mama Melrose.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if she came back and you said, my bolognese is not good, and complained about it, but they didn't do anything wrong, then that just means we don't like the food as it's prepared. Right? It is very much to come back and say, like, the pasta was cooked properly. It just wasn't, it had no flavor to it, the pasta on its own, but it was cooked properly.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was technically done right. It was missing the flavor. So it'd be one thing to be like, my pasta was way overcooked, or my pasta was undercooked and was still crunchy.
Right.
Everything was presented, I think, the way that they're presenting this dish, it just isn't good to us.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we didn't see Anita complain. So when she kind of said, like, how is everything? I was like, it's good. And she immediately was like, oh, I have no, that's,
yeah.
Your voice changed. What's up? And we didn't just say, this is gross, this is bad. We just kind of, and she played along a little, where we were just kind of like, yeah, it's, I said, we're really hungry. And she could see, like, we weren't devouring this, and
we did take it. So then she was like, did you ask for a box?
Yes, for a box
to not upset me or something like that.
Get me mad at you,
right? And I was like, no, because I'm like, he'll eat this later.
Yep.
And I mean, I possibly was taking it, and she's like, you look scared, and I was like,
we did not touch your leftovers.
We did not.
So, but she was, and it was funny because she was like, from the looks of everything and how it's gone, I probably probably can't interest you in a dessert menu, right? And we're like, we'll hear it.
Yeah,
we'll hear
tell
it.
us about them.
So she explained a couple of desserts, and the thing is too, she seemed surprised that we didn't love our meal.
Yeah,
with what we ordered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, she had told us, hey, the polenta cake, probably don't want to head that direction.
Right.
But with what we ordered, she seemed surprised. She seemed like, oh, okay, I've not heard that. Oh, interesting. So I'm hoping, again, something was off. But she was explaining some of the desserts, and she explained some regularly, and then some of the ones, she was as nice as could be, but she was very much kind of like, oh,
it's hysterical. So, I mean, they have a tiramisu, which is normal. They have mini cannoli trio. And I mean, we looked at thinking of it, but I'm like, And, they have a cherry chocolate cake. They have a cream tart. They have a flourless chocolate cake. So I think when she got into the cream tart, and I think that's when she started like going like, we have these things, and I think she named the cream tart and the cherry chocolate cake.
It was funny because she kind of said them in a sense of though she was reading them. It wasn't like, oh, it's got this really delicious, she wasn't like, it's this delicious house-made tart, and it has this kind of like pastry, like she basically was like, well, there's pastry cream, and there's some powdered sugar, and then it is
too much
surrounded
tart
by a tart.
Yeah, and it was just
like,
it was funny.
It was hilarious.
So she started getting to these, and she gets to this goat cheese mousse tart, which actually kind of sounded good.
Yeah.
It is topped with a honeycomb and an edible flower served with blackberries and a Cassie compote for $10. She was hysterical.
We were dying
And I
laughing.
almost kind of wanted her to bring me one because I like goat cheese, but she said that she has only had one customer ever like it.
That the restaurant has only had one customer that ever said they liked it. I don't know why it's still on the menu.
And then one lady was like, oh, I like, and so she was like, okay, I'm going to bring it to you basically for free. So she brings it and then she takes a small cautionary bite. And she said, oh, no, you go ahead and take your full. So she took a full spoonful and basically was like, they videoed her and it was completely exactly what she expected, which I thought was funny. And I'm like, no, I looked at the drinks earlier and I was like, you know what? I will take a chocolate martini. So, and I was like, can you get that to go? Because we weren't going to stay. And she was like, yes. And that was fantastic.
Yeah, good.
So that was the best out of this whole thing. I enjoyed.
Yeah, this is the worst. I think through and through the worst meal we've had on property. I'd have to go back and compare it to the Monsieur Paul, the one time we did it. That, if anything, was worse because the cost was so much higher. But again, we're walking away here with the $100, lunch, which is understandable, but not satisfied with any of it, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But as we said before, I'm not kidding. I would go back and ask for Angela. And if she was working, I think honestly we would sit and maybe just try. Let's just get some fried mozzarella sticks. If you want, get a chocolate martini or whatever again. And I'll get a soda or something. But I would go back for her.
Yeah.
But I would not recommend this to anyone based on our experience ever.
And then I don't know if we would want to come back here.
No.
Which is sad.
No. And
because the last time we were was 5 or 6 years. Right. Maybe we'll wait another 5 or 6 years.
We might. It'd be very hard pressed to go back here anytime soon.
Yep.
That's for sure. So take that for what it's worth. But we will have only positive things to say about food from here on out.
Yes.
So
yes.
From here we went ahead and we bussed back to the room. And we were going to go ahead and just chill there for a little bit, get changed, because we were going to go over and meet some folks at Banana Cabana. Huge thank you to April and her wonderful daughter and John and Chris that came out. We got to hang out there for a little while, which is just nice, and talk Disney and food and all kinds of stuff. Laugh at April because she's hilarious.
She's great.
But yeah, it's always interesting because she has some dietary needs.
Yes.
And of course, with what John does and writing about food all the time and our experiences, it's kind of neat, to all sit around and chat about food and Disney and all that. So that was great. But we were going to go ahead, and it was another one of those situations. It was well, we don't want to drive to Banana Cabana and first of all try and park, because you just don't know, because they can be very strict on getting into restaurants if you're not staying there, or have a dining, and of course they don't take reservations there. So we're going to Uber over there. Then we're going to end up at Epcot, and we knew we could just bus home.
Yep.
So our last 2 Ubers, man, I've gotten lost both times. This Uber driver was hilarious.
She was.
She missed the turn to head towards the areas. We ended up in Epcot. No. This is the one. That was the last time we ended up in Epcot.
This was the one we were headed
last time we were
home.
trying to go to Narcoossee's, and we ended up in Epcot.
Yes.
This one we were trying to head to Banana Cabana, and we ended up on the other side of I-4 by the Gaylord Palms.
Yes.
Which during this time we found that her sister, who had purchased a 250-year-old home up in Massachusetts, believed it was haunted.
And it was.
And they contacted Travel Channel, who came out and did a ghost hunters on the house and found that 2 little girls that they're not sure if they were related had apparently died in this home and were haunting it. It was fascinating.
Oh, it was. And freaky.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's a big nope for me.
But it's just so interesting how you can get from here to there sometimes.
Well,
you know
we started with where are we from? I mean, just kind of anytime, a listener we meet and we're like, where are you from? And they'll tell us. So, they do the same thing with us, Uber drivers, sometimes cast members. And asked and we said St. Augustine. So then she was like, oh, and starts talking and then talks about the ghost tour. And I was like, we've never done one. We've lived here. And I said, because I believe in that stuff. So that's where it went from.
Yeah.
But then she was talking.
So crazy
and then
is you think about, like, you just think about that, like, at any point in your mind before you entered that vehicle, did you think we would end up talking about ghosts and all? And at any point in her mind, she's obviously told this story before, but was she just like, if there's a way to get this ghost story in, I'm bringing it in. And as soon as we said St. Augustine, she's like, oh, I got one for y'all. But it was fascinating. It was so interesting. So, yeah, I mean, we got lost a little bit and we're like, whatever, I guess we get to finish hearing the end of this story. But so ended up at Banana Cabana, sat there. They're open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. This is, of course, their pool bar that is located right there. We've dined here a bunch of times. We love it. They have really good wings there. That we've loved in the past.
And April got them and loved them.
Yep. And she was able to get them for her dietary needs, of course. And then we sat for a little bit because we weren't starving because we had ate a late lunch. And then it wasn't even a good lunch. So I was just kind of like, I kind of want food that's good. Right. So we ended up getting the loaded fries for $12, which come with chili, cojita, and pico de gallo. And then we went ahead and got, which we'd never had before, is the coconut shrimp for $16. Is served with citrus chili sauce and French fries as well. We love these loaded fries.
Yes.
And you don't like chili.
No, but it was, and I really didn't eat a ton of them. I really like the coconut shrimp, which I was surprised at because they're very, like, it's fried coconut shrimp but it was fantastic. And the chili is a good chili. It reminds me in between Skyline and like a regular homemade chili.
Well, it's not, it's much more of just
meat,
ground beef. It's much more of just ground beef with chili flavoring.
Yes.
As opposed to a chili, which you know, again, it's going to have a bunch of other stuff possibly in it. Right. You know, like outside of Skyline, like onions and maybe peppers and different cuts of beef and beans. And it can be more soupy because, you know, like you'd eat it with a spoon. Like you could eat this stuff with a fork. But it's delicious. Yep. And then, the coconut shrimp I thought were outstanding. 5 butterflied shrimp, pretty good size, nice light breading. The citrus chili sauce.
That was like really
your sweet and spicy
good.
chili sauce that you can get in a jar from your local Publix or whatever. So I really enjoyed these.
I don't think we realized the coconut shrimp was going to have fries, and then we got the loaded fries because I think I would have switched out the seafood fritters.
And instead of getting coconut shrimp?
No, instead of getting loaded fries.
Oh, yeah. No,
because the fries came with the coconut shrimp.
Yeah. No, I agree. We probably should have tried that because we've not done those. But yeah, so from there, we went over into EPCOT because we wanted to go kind of check out Luminous, the Symphony of Us, which we really haven't seen a ton of times because we don't love it. More on that in a minute. But we did run in Pam and Steve, who ran late at their dinner at BOMA. Wonderful listeners. We ran into in Creations. They didn't make it out in time for the Banana Cabana, but we sat there for 5-10 minutes and chatted with them.
That was nice.
So they were wonderful to run into. So thank y'all for saying hello and glad we caught you. And then of course I wanted ice cream.
So I was going to go to World Showcase, and then Jeremy was like,
I had a better idea.
Let's go to the
Artisan de Glace.
Yes. That one.
Over in France.
Yes. This is open from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. And there's no discounts, which is fine. But, they have single scoops, double scoops, singles $5.75, doubles is $7.95. They have ice cream and sorbet. And then they have all kinds of, like, the flavors. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But they also have things like the artisan specials, which you have macarons, which that's chocolate or seasonal macaron ice cream sandwich. Yeah. I would like to try that one.
We'll totally get that next time.
That's $7. They have the croque glace, which is what we got before, which is your homemade brioche bun, and you pick a flavor of ice cream. They have an ice cream martini, which at this point, I I had a couple of drinks and I just was like, I do not want anything else.
I want you to get it one time.
I do want to get it
want you to
one
try
time.
it. Yeah.
It is 2 scoops with a shot of Grand Marnier whipped cream, vodka or rum, which I would pick the vodka. So I think it's $14.95, so $15. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So we got in a waffle cone. I got the cinnamon caramel apple crunch ice cream, which was fantastic with mine.
And I got the caramel one.
And then you just got the caramel, and
their ice cream's so good.
Really good.
It's
really great.
Super delicious.
Really enjoy everything that we've had from here.
Yeah. Absolutely love it. So, I would highly recommend. And I can't remember if you said scoop is $5.75,
Yes,
double scoop $7.95.
We got one.
Yeah,
because I'm like,
one scoop is enough. Honestly,
it is. I
Could always
could have
have more.
totally done 2, but I'm like, it's late, and
Let's say this: for only
We're good.
$2 more, it is well worth doubling up on the scoop.
I'll agree on
Right?
that. Yep.
Don't you agree? All right, let's talk a little bit real quick about Luminous, the Symphony of Us, Epcot's current nighttime spectacular. You can really, a good view is most anywhere.
Yeah, which is nice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great show.
It doesn't hit me in the feels.
No.
So
it's
not a bad show. It just doesn't hit me in the feels.
Yeah.
It's a good show. But it's just one of those where I can walk away watching it.
Yeah.
Whereas
we watched half of it, and then I was like, you know what? I'd rather beat the bus crowd so we can kind of turn our head over our shoulder to catch the rest of it.
And it's good. It's cute. It's just something that I don't want to stand and watch and see as like I would stand and watch Happily Ever After. Right. And it's not something that I'm wanting to go. I'd rather watch Phantasmic over this.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I'd rather watch most anything over this. And it's just there's not, like you said, it doesn't evoke emotion, at least for us. And there's not enough going on. You say what you want about the barges when they were there, right? But at least they added something to the overall show when you have something that is not only taking place on the water, because it's very minimal here. Mm-hmm. There's some water fountains and there's some little lasers, but there's just, I don't feel like there's enough going on the ground level. The soundtrack's fine, but it's just, all right, there's an Aladdin scene that is super high charged, energized. It's wonderful. Nothing else in this show for me lives up to that same emotion and energy.
Yeah.
That's what I would say it's lacking. It lacks emotion. It lacks energy.
But, the ground level, you kind of want it up in the sky anyways. So.
But you had more. It was more collective. I don't want to see where fireworks are shooting off from in that sense. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Without you giving me a reason to look in that area as well. I think when you can collaborate both what's happening on the ground and what's happening in the sky, I just think it works so much better. So it just kind of lacks those types of things.
Okay.
But
I'll agree.
We'll take a break now for this episode because we still have we spent probably more time because we did want to talk a little bit about our all-stars and all-star movies. We did want to touch base on a few of these things that we probably spent some extra time on. So we'll come back and do the next episode, which will include the opening of Tiana's, a lot more food,
yes,
and a very fun game that we played on Saturday before we headed home.
Yes,
that will now go into our rotation in our arsenal. It might be something that you guys want to do as well. So with that being said, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can get brand new episodes every Tuesday and then catch the next part of this on Friday. And of course, Rhonda and I would be super duper thankful if you could please leave us a rating and review.
Because it helps our show grow.
That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.